This is a true event that happened on the Florida Peninsula. A woman was paddling on her surfboard, ready to surf. Little did she know, a shark had already appeared nearby. By the time the woman sensed the danger, it was already too late. Before she could react, the shark quickly pulled her into the sea. Meanwhile, Jason was with two girlfriends, preparing to enjoy the day. The three of them didn't know that danger was lurking closely behind them. Megan accidentally noticed a large group of dolphins. Sarah hurriedly took out her phone to capture the beautiful moment. But when she zoomed in on the picture, she was shocked to find that the dolphins were covered in scars. They guessed that maybe the dolphins had collided with a boat. They didn't take the matter too seriously and continued on. 2 hours later, they arrived at a reef area. For a better visual effect, Jason jumped into the water to take some underwater photos. Sarah followed closely behind him. The two of them were playing and didn't realize the danger that was nearby. At that moment, Megan finally spotted the shark. She froze in fear. Seeing the shark getting closer to the two, Megan desperately shouted at them, but it was too late. Excited Jason disappeared from the surface of the water in an instant. Sarah hurriedly pulled out her phone to search for a signal, but she didn't listen to Megan's warning. Instead of calling for help immediately, she insisted on calling her father. However, when the call connected, Sarah couldn't accurately describe her exact location. She only mentioned that they were about an hour away from a small island they often visited. Just then, Sarah's phone ran out of battery. Now, the only useful tool left was the knife she carried with her. Even so, they didn't dare to leave by kayak, but the tide was rising faster than they expected. They had to find a higher place. However, Megan refused to go into the water. While the two argued, the kayaks were being swept into the sea. As the kayaks drifted farther away, they hurriedly swam toward them. Just as they climbed onto the kayaks, the shark followed closely behind. They dared not relax for even a moment and paddled with all their strength. They managed to reach a nearby island and were safe. At that point, they were terrified to see more sharks appear in front of them. But soon, a miracle happened. The dolphins appeared and helped them. However, their strength was running out. Not long after, they were exhausted. At that moment, Sarah came up with an idea. She tied the two kayaks together, hoping the larger size would scare off the sharks. But the cunning sharks didn't leave. Fortunately, they encountered a sandbar just in time. With the last of their strength, the two women finally made it to shore safely. Having barely escaped the danger, Megan began to complain non-stop. She kept blaming Sarah for suggesting they go out to take pictures. Now, not only had they lost Jason, but they were also stuck in a dire situation. Soon, the sound of an airplane's engine was heard. But no matter how hard they shouted, the plane didn't spot them. It slowly disappeared from their view. The rising tide was getting faster and faster. The sandbar was quickly submerged by the water. The two had no choice but to risk their lives and paddle away again. As expected, the sharks appeared once more. Sarah hurriedly pulled out the knife, ready to fight the sharks. At that moment, the rescue boat finally arrived. But because of the reefs surrounding their location, the boat couldn't approach for rescue. The two women had no choice but to paddle desperately toward the boat. Suddenly, the kayak was overturned by a shark. In that life or death moment, Sarah didn't abandon her friend. She disregarded the danger and returned to save Megan.